Obviously, as always, welcome to PMD Alliance August Roundtables. We're glad you're here. Um, this is being recorded, but we do ask that you keep your microphone on mute when necessary, that you listen deeply and really, hear what other people are saying, that you keep an open mind, your yes, and what can I do with this information? How can I use it? How does this inspire me? Move with intention. And of course, as always, be patient with technology because it's great when it works and sometimes it doesn't. So, shockingly, because I'm always very food centric, I thought, what is your favorite summer food? And I know some of you are healthy, and I know it's tomato season, so some of you might say corn or tomatoes, and I promise not to make fun of you. Some of you might just say ice cream because it's hot out. But what is your favorite summer food that you're kind of like, it's not, summer if I haven't had this? Um, Snow cones. Yeah, BJ. Snow cones. Watermelon. Yep, berries. Ooh, stone peaches. That sounds delicious. We actually went peach picking one time, and I had no idea how soft and fuzzy they can be right from the vine. Dave says rum and coke. Barb says sweet corn dipped in melted butter and topped with some salt and pepper. Greg says redfish, blueberries, definitely blueberry season, plums, popsicle, pineapple. We have some fun summer favorites, don't we, everyone? That's cool. So now I want to talk today about something kind of tangible. Basically, when people get their diagnosis, it's really overwhelming. I'm sure most of you kind of remember what it was like when you got your first diagnosis. I did have one woman. She was a young onset patient, but she was an ER nurse. And so she was convinced she had a tumor. So when the doctor said Parkinson's, she was relieved. But most people aren't. They're kind of like, oh, I didn't really see this coming. And maybe this has been quite the twist in their day. And in that situation, you can't take in all that information at once. And so it's really nice to have a sheet to help. And so I'm going to just kind of go into that a little bit. And that's where the something tangible comes in. Like, what could you maybe make for people? Whether it's a support group list, an exercise class list, something about get out, like ways to get out, like get outs and stuff, meetups, things like that, whether you have book clubs or walking clubs. What's going on near you that you think, when people get diagnosed, it would be great if when they left their neurologist's office, they had a sheet of just some local resources so that they know before they go down the rabbit hole that can be just Googling Parkinson's disease. Like, even just these are the websites to check out, things like that. One other thing I remember we did, and then somebody kind of told me how they did this for Parkinson's, and I thought it was so cool. When I was volunteering to work at a domestic violence shelter, they did an exercise with us where they gave us 5 Post-its, and they said, write down the 5 most important things to you. And so you do. And I remember I did like friends, family, health, financial stability, and I really couldn't come up with a 5th one because we had like 30 seconds to do it. So I just put down chocolate because that's who I am. And so then they said, throw one away. And I went, okay, and I threw away chocolate because compared to the others, that was an easy one. And they said, throw away another one. And I was like, well, hang on here. Like now you're really going to my core values and stuff. And they said, well, that's when people just say, why doesn't she leave? What they should be asking is, why doesn't he stop? But also, these are the decisions that a woman has to go through before she can just leave. And so somebody had told me that when it comes to Parkinson's disease, they take 15 Post-its and kind of write, your favorite things and what means the most to you and just place them in front of you on your desk. And then the facilitator is going to come and take away your Post-its because you don't get to choose. And that's kind of what Parkinson's disease can be. And I thought, wow, that's really powerful because, that's not really something I thought about in these situations. And so it's just kind of a tangible way to share your experience. And there's also like holding a vibrating pen or walking with bands around your ankles so you can't take big steps. These are all tangible things. But then I did also talk about, just having support group lists in your area. This is old. This is from when I was at USF, which was back in like 2005. But these are a list of all basically the local support groups. As you can see, I'm not that talented. I'm not very, so this is nothing incredible or whatnot. It just kind of lets you know you can call me with questions. We had an APDA person. She was very protective of her group. So I did kind of put like a little like, hey, this is an APDA group, call her for that. But it was just very quick and easy to hand to somebody to say, depending on where you are, whether you're in Sun City Center, whether you're in Clearwater, these are all areas surrounding Tampa, but we also had a young onset group. We had a South Tampa group. We had a North Tampa group. Just know these are available to you. And then I came to PMD and we had some better things. And so this was actually put together by one of our, this is our ecosystem. And we always talk about our ecosystem. And obviously, again, this is not easy to design, but the next page is, and that was put together by one of our people. But we always talk about, like you have your family network, your companion network, your medical, your therapy, and your community network. And so when it comes to asking for help, who can help you? You have your care partner, your spouse, your adult children, your relatives. Who's going to help you? Who's in your companion network? Who's in your medical network? Start keeping track of these things. And again, this is something very easy to give out to someone to say, hey, start thinking about it, because these are the people who are going to help you when there's an issue. Whether it's something small like, hey, can you take out the garbage for me? Or could you bring dinner? Or something big like, I have an appointment. Can you please sit with my loved one? Or I know somebody who in my flying solo group, she has to have a procedure and they will not let her go because there is like a small amount of nitrous oxide, I guess, used. And so normally she uses Jewish Family Services for a car for her ride. But in this situation, they said, we can't release you to a stranger. It has to be a friend or relative. We can't just like put you in an Uber because we can't, one, you can't drive, but it has to be something. So she really had to think about like, well, who would take me? Who would I feel comfortable asking? Because, where she lives, it's not that it's 2 hours away, but it's probably about 30 minutes. And then they would have to wait for her. And so, she feels like she's asking someone to take about 3 hours of their time for her. So again, this is just something like, who can help me? And then we have our roadmap to care. Again, this is advanced. I don't expect anybody to do this, but sometimes people have shared in this meeting, like things that they have done. And so this is just one of those things that it's like, here's your roadmap, your early stage, your mid stage, your late stage, and these are going to be sent to you. What are some of the motor symptoms? What are some of the non-motor symptoms that you're seeing here? What are some of the treatment needs? Again, this is just a really small thing to just give to someone and say, hey, just so you have some awareness, because some of this, like REM sleep behavior disorder, if you've never heard about it, it can be kind of weird. And so it's kind of, nice to have some sense of like, here's what could happen, here's what's going on. And so again, we're not expecting you to come up with something like this. This is pretty advanced, but it gives you an idea of like seeking education from reliable resources. And we're going to tell you those resources. We're not going to just have you Google it. Think about what quality of life means, lifestyle changes. What are you doing in the early stages? And then we can talk about the mid stage, what's going to happen or what could happen here. Keeping in mind, and I remember this, Arita McCoy from Johns Hopkins once said, Parkinson's is a salad bar disease. And we could all go to a salad bar, and even though we're at the same exact salad bar, none of our salads are going to look the same. And she's right. So it's kind of like, just because these are here, these could happen, they might not happen, but to just let people know what's going on. And also maybe think about some things like, um, I know, for example, in my current house, I can't age in place here. My bedroom is upstairs. So if there's ever an issue, this is not the house I can remain in. It's fine for now. I don't need to leave it tomorrow, but I am aware of the fact that this is not the house I can age in place in. So, again, what are some things you have to start thinking about and looking ahead for? And then we do get to the late stage of Parkinson's. So, again, this is, as far as this has been put together, this is a very collaborative effort. This isn't what I'm expecting from everybody, but to just kind of know that these things, it's really great when you have a tool like that to maybe just pick up at your doctor's office and that you've made to kind of say, hey, and by the way, we have a support group and we'd love for you to join us and tell us your story. And so I'm not currently sharing the PowerPoint. um, it was just a brief PowerPoint, and then we are going to break into our small groups, and we're just going to talk about what have we done? Have there been any tangible resources that have been very helpful to you that you have found to be of help to you? What can you share or have you done to share resources? I'm going to put that in the chat. Okay, that did not come up in the chat. But basically, what have you done to share resources, or have you made up resources and that you would be willing to share with us so that we could send those out in our emails? You don't have to do anything. Kelly's going to put you in the chat in your breakout rooms, and we'll see you in about 50 minutes. Hey everyone, welcome back. So I want to hear what everybody discussed. And of course, if people would like to email me, I'm going to put my email in the chat. Anything that maybe you've done that you'd like to share with everyone, we can send that out. But in room 1, we have Dave Orlowski, we have Juliana, we have Karen, we have got Myra, we have Naomi, who also wanted to talk briefly about HPP, and Randy Parker, who'd like to come off mute and share with us. Okay, Naomi.
Hi everyone. Thanks for being here. We had a lot of good information in our group, and there's things that came up really with what Lauren has done as well. So Lauren, I might point to you or have you enter some things in the chat. So we had talked about newly diagnosed and also some about hospital. One of the things is that when you're newly diagnosed, it can be very overwhelming and you may not hear everything. And it could be shocking the way that you're getting the information, depending on how it's delivered to you. So some of the things that you could do is they talked about the ecosystem and the roadmap. There is a person, what is her name? Katie. She's an outreach coordinator for movement disorders. That includes Parkinson's, but many other things too. And she's at St. Joseph/Candler in Savannah, Georgia. So one of the things that she talked about is that when someone is diagnosed, we had talked about setting up a meeting with that person, maybe not at that time because you're still processing, but in the near future. And that there would be someone in the room with you to help receive that information and to also be accountable and making the staff being accountable. And there's also the jump start for newly diagnosed in the last year or so that Dave had talked about with Rogue, and also about a boot camp program that is with Claire McLean, Rogue in Motion from Costa Mesa, that there's something you could attend that's a virtual event, so you don't have to be in Southern California. We had preparing for doctor visits. There's different apps and forms or lists that you can do. Sometimes your doctor or healthcare provider will ask you, have you had any falls? How is your walking? What are your top things to talk about when you go to an appointment? Because you might only have 15 minutes and you want to make sure you get what you need for that 15 minutes. There was also talk about wearing slip-on shoes when you go to these appointments, because if you don't have slip-on shoes, that might eat some of your time that's valuable at that appointment. There was talk about having a list of local groups who can help, as well as the roadmap that would include early, mid, and late stage. There was a person named Ron who had to leave early, but one of the things that they do at their support group meetings is they have a hospital safety guide. They talk about that at every meeting. And what they do is they have people bring their kits to the meeting so people can see it. And every time you bring a kit, you get your name into a drawing. And through the Parkinson's Foundation, they gave them 2 $100 gift certificates that they give at the end of the year. They do a drawing. So if your name's in there, you could be eligible to win. We talked about the snuggle bear that we talked about a couple meetings ago. But we also talked about one of the things to include in your kit is that you can get a note from your neurologist, your movement disorder specialist, and have that signed, and that's in your kit, saying that you need your medication within 15 minutes of when you're supposed to have it, and that you can administer and bring your own medication in the bottles that it comes in. So you are making sure you're getting what you need when you need it, and not something else in place of it. We had also talked about, let's see. There was a lot with Lauren that came out too, with PD Buzz. There's also the PMD, Michael J. Fox, Davis Finney. So there's a lot of good programs there and forms and lists. Is there any main things that I've left out from I'm asking my group? No. All right, so I want to share a little bit about human powered potential. Who
Can I
on
just
this
say one
call
thing?
knows about that? With the world's greatest or toughest row. So that was something that was done. It started June 8th, where they had a number of teams rowing across the Pacific Ocean, 2,800 miles. They left June 8th, and this team, Human Powered Potential, arrived 41 days later. One of the persons on this team, this 4-person team, has Parkinson's. And their effort was to raise $28 million to help find a cure for Parkinson's. And I think we all hope to find a cure in our lifetime, or at least to help future generations. What is so amazing with this is that there's an anonymous, generous donor giving a 3-to-1 donation match. And they have met their surprisingly high goal of $28 million, but it's going to continue until the end of the month. So we recently had the bill passed, the End Parkinson's Act bill passed. It was approved by the Senate, yes, and the House, and then recently signed into law by the president. So with that, the timing of all of this is like so incredible. And a 3-to-1 match means if someone donates $100, this anonymous donor is going to donate $300. So that $100 donation is quadrupled. And this is going to help everyone. So that's why I'm sharing it with you, because it's so amazing what they have done and what they're doing. And, you know, we all hope to find a cure. So this person, Pat Morrissey, who started this team, you know, rowing 41 days. You could even see it on YouTube when they came back. And it was so emotional when they saw their families and loved ones after being on the Pacific Ocean, you know, no hot food, no bed, not being able to walk on land, but what they've sacrificed and what they're trying to do for the Parkinson's community. So I just wanted to share that.
Naomi, can you share
Yep.
the link in the chat, please?
Yeah, I could share the link.
Thank you.
One thing Randy mentioned, Synapticure, which I think everybody should be aware of. So Randy, do you want to say something about it?
Sure. My neurologist left the practice that she was in, where I was seeing her, and she had joined a group that is virtual. You still see your regular neurologist twice a year, but this group is virtual, and they have any kind of neurological doctors, movement specialists, psychologists, nurses. I am checked up on at least 2 times a week. The first visit with the neurologist is an hour and a half long. Every neurology appointment after that is an hour long, and they really do take care of you. She is licensed in 48 states. She can't get North Carolina or Hawaii, but she is licensed in every other state. So I can put all her information in the chat too.
That's covered by insurance, right?
Yes, it is.
So you could have your local doctor as well as her.
You have to. You have to have your local doctor.
But that's what a support.
Mhm.
Thank you, room 1. And now room 2, we've got Barb, we've got BJ, we've got Carrie Lee, we've got Corey, we've got Craig, we've got Elpidio, Lisa, and Mary Jane. Who wants to come off mute?
I'm off mute.
Thanks,
Look,
BJ.
I am always amazed at the wonderful people I meet every single time, and I just want to say thank you to Kelly, Calissa, Clemmy, Eden, and you know, the PMD Alliance and everything they do for us. I am always encouraged every time I'm in one of these meetings because of the quality of people and the encouragement and everything else. So just to boil it down, the biggest things we talked about, let's see, Craig talked about the buddy program at Michael J. Fox Foundation and how you're able to get a one-on-one. You can refine the search to someone in your area, and you can find a buddy to talk these things over with, and it takes the pressure off. Sometimes if people go to a meeting or in a unfamiliar group, they don't want to speak up or share due to the intimidation factor. But so the buddy program, Michael J. Fox, is available. We talked about having a a folder of information with a business card of the support group leaders so they can reach out whenever someone's diagnosed, have that at the doctor's office. It doesn't always work, but if you have healthcare providers that will work with you, having that information is wonderful. The biggest things we talked about was to help people prepare for appointments so they get the biggest bang out of their 15 minutes. And I know when I was diagnosed, the biggest thing I had was a patient advocate that every appointment they called me the week before and they say, okay, what are we going to say at the doctor's office? What are we going to mention? What are you not going to forget to say? And so that resource is no longer available, but as leaders in the community, we can help people prepare for meetings just from our own experience and just walk people through it and make notes and say, carry this in with you. That way you won't forget to talk about it. And when you get in there, say, hey, before I leave, I want to talk about these things and say it first. That way they know they need to cover it before they dash out of the room. The second thing was splitting the group into care partners, and people with Parkinson's have 2 different rooms. That way any information can stay in the room, but they can share away from the people with Parkinson, and the people with Parkinson's can share away from their care partners, because sometimes there's frustration that builds in a relationship, any relationship, and sometimes you just need to get it off your chest. And anytime we've done it, I haven't heard laughter like I've heard from the care partners room about the Parkinson's people. They love making fun of us. So, but it's a lot of fun, and it gives people a low pressure place where they can just vent and not worry about the information being spread. Then gaps. Where you at? Where you at? I'm looking for you. Anyways,
Mary
gaps.
Jane.
Where is she?
You say,
There
where's
she
Mary
is.
Jane go? There
Mary
she
Jane.
is.
Okay. Yes, gaps. She's organizing a PD 101 session, and she's going to share with us when she finalizes her agenda. She's going to send it along, and this will be separate from yeah, share your link to gaps in the chat, please. When I grow up, I want to be like gaps. And when she puts this all together, she actually asked our input on topics, and that was nice. But she's going to have this separate from her regular support group meeting. And that way, anyone over the year that has shown up and has been newly diagnosed, they will have a separate session that they can attend and get information specifically for them, instead of walking in a meeting with people who've had it for years and they're already familiar with topics, and it gives them a place where they can start from scratch. And then the other big thing we talked about is be a mentor. And anyone that comes into our community that seems lost or dazed or confused, just reach out your hand and say, hey, let's go over here and talk one-on-one and find out what this person needs as an individual. And it may not be you. It may be they need to talk to a care partner. It may be they need to talk to someone who's been through DBS surgery. You know, just take the time to have a one-on-one conversation with people, and that may be the only way that they share what they need. So anyway, that's the gist of what we talked about. We had wonderful people, and I got a bunch of emails, and I'm going to connect, and a bunch of them are coming to All In. Yay!
That's wonderful. And thanks for sharing. And what about room 3? We've got Dave Rivera, we've got Greg, we've got Karen, we've got Lauren, we've got Nell, and we've got Bernard.
Hey, so it was my turn to take notes. Nell talked about having developed a website and a lot of information for their members, working about starting a welcome buddy process. Bernard and expressed this as well, that we sometimes overwhelm people with PD with just way too much information right off the get-go. And that's overwhelming. We talked about how a new diagnosis is delivered, how it fractured that individual and put them in a state of shock, in a sense, not knowing what next. How did I get here? Why did this happen? Why me? A lot of questions. I shared with them that the Parkinson's Foundation had a newly diagnosed folder. I was able to get one of the hospital systems to pass that folder along with a resource sheet to all newly diagnosed people. The other hospital system just ignored it. What I did is Clemmy gave me a newly diagnosed paper on the Parkinson's Disorder magazine. And I shared that with all 4 doctors at that one meeting that we had here. Only one doctor was really receptive and is doing something, but it's an improvement. Now we've got somebody doing something, which is better than nobody. We did, Bernard's going out and talking to medical conferences about Parkinson's. And I think this is important. We talked that we need to catch that doctor before he starts to practice. And we need to start doing something with CMEs for doctors that have been doing the wrong thing for a long time. We need to change how doctors interchange information with their patients. And somebody has been doing it in a rude manner for 20 years needs to be changed a little bit at a time. A CME is a good way to introduce that change to begin with. We talked about having Greg shared his experience about going to a doctor who wanted to take him off of Cinemed and put him in a seizure medication. There's that kind of malpractice going out there. That, Greg's been taking Cinemed for several years. He has Parkinson's, and one of 3 neurologists that he got acquainted with in Florida made the suggestion. He no longer goes to see them. We talked about navigators and social workers being, as well as PACs, being more helpful than the actual doctor themselves. So if we can reach that audience and start to change the conversation there, we may get some results. Eden, we asked if we could have like a directory of people that attend these meetings with emails so that we could share information freely.
You would need everyone's permission to do that.
Can you get it? We will happily give it to you.
What I can do is I can send out an email with everybody basically saying, are you okay with sharing this information in a group so that yes. And then also speaking of Bernard, one of the most, I hope you can see it.
No,
This
Don't
book,
too close.
You have to show
one
the
of the
back.
most tangible things ever.
We're using that book in outreach in North Baton Rouge. We ordered like 200 books, I think, and we're organizing outreach with the capital area YMCA to reach out to the North Baton Rouge population. And we got those books specifically for that purpose, Mr. Mann.
Thank you.
Okay. The other thing, I've developed a statistical model and I offered to do a study for individual people's towns, zip codes, whatever they want to gather information with. Eden, you have my express consent to share my email. Anybody who wants an analysis of their county or town about number of Parkinson's incidents, I'll gladly do a little analysis and email it to them. So they have something that they can have a target. We all know that we're not seeing the fair share of the population that we want to address. What we see is just the tip of the iceberg. And we need to find ways to reach people that don't even know we exist. But
Did have one question about a Facebook group. I don't know how they work. Although I would say if somebody wanted to do that, Lauren, if you wanted to start one, I imagine if you told us and gave us the link, we could then share it with everybody so that they would know to join it. But what I will do after this meeting, and I do encourage everyone to save their chat. I'm actually going to do that right now because then I will send out the links and everything as well. Naomi has also asked me to include the email she sent me so I can add that. But if you would then just respond to me, are you okay with me sharing your email if we do something? This way I have permission because we can't share without permission.
Can I put it in the chat?
Well, as long as I know I've got your permission, it's okay.
and if anybody wants to know, I like my rum and coke shaken, not stirred.
And then Lauren, if you want to get with BJ, he asked if the Facebook group would be private. If you want to work together on that, let him know. And Bernard's giving me permission to share his email. Karen, share away. Perfect. Well, we are out of time today. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for being awesome. Thanks for building your community and providing this information because it's so important. And I'm going to say I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and I hope to see you this week in either NLO or support groups. Bye, everyone.